As we already know, life is full of ups and downs. The things that happen in our life can sometimes fill us with joy, while other times it can bring us nothing but sadness. It's important to remember that even if things may be difficult at the moment, it doesn't mean that they'll always stay that way. As long as you keep moving forward, no matter how slow, you're bound to find the light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes all it takes is a change in perspective or a helping hand to lead you in the right direction. This was exactly what happened to a young man named Lucas from Texas, who decided to start helping others. What he didn't know was that this would completely change his life around for the better. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe if you haven't so that you won't miss any new stories. Also, give this a thumbs up if you're enjoying the video. With that said, let's take a look at how helping others saved Lucas's life. Lucas was a 24-year-old young man who had recently graduated university. He had dreamed of becoming an engineer since he was little and worked hard to achieve his dreams. Now that he had gotten his degree, he felt like his life was finally taking off. However, unfortunately, this wasn't the case. After sending out his resume to dozens of companies, he only got a handful of responses. And even then, none of them were offering him the position he wanted. He tried not to let it get to him. He knew that finding a job took time, but it was getting harder and harder for him to support himself financially. All he could do was work part-time odd jobs here and there just so he could put food on the table. Despite the situation he found himself in, Lucas never gave up hope. He still believed that one day his big break would come. In the meantime, though, he needed to figure out a way to pay the bills. One day, as he was scrolling through the local classifieds, he came across a post that caught his eye. A local animal shelter was looking for someone to help walk dogs and take care of the facility. It wasn't exactly the job he had in mind, but it was something, so he applied on the spot. To his surprise, he got the job. Even though it wasn't the most exciting work, he was grateful to have something. At first, the job was everything he expected and more. The people at the animal shelter were wonderful, treated him with kindness and respect. It was a nice change from the stress of applying for jobs. Every morning when he woke up, he got ready for work, grabbed a bite to eat, and headed over to the animal shelter. His days were filled with walking dogs, cleaning cages, and socializing with animals. The main responsibility was to walk the dogs. Some of them hadn't been outside in weeks and were desperate for some fresh air. Lucas loved animals, so it wasn't hard for him to connect with them. He would take them for walks, play with them, and give them plenty of love and attention. Seeing their happy faces made him feel good about himself and his job. While working at the animal shelter, Lucas met all sorts of people. Some were there to adopt a pet, while others were simply looking for companionship. He enjoyed talking to them and hearing their stories. He learned that many people who came to the shelter were going through tough times and were in need of help. And even though the animal shelter wasn't able to help everyone, they did their best to assist those in need. It was during one of these walks that Lucas met an elderly woman named Helen. She had come to the shelter to adopt a small dog. When Lucas first approached her, he could tell she was feeling down. She had a sad look on her face and seemed lost in thought. However, as soon as she saw the dogs, a smile lit up her face, and her spirits lifted. She spent hours playing with them, and was eventually seen leaving the shelter with a small terrier by her side. After they had both left, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that he had just witnessed something special. There was something about Helen that intrigued him, so he decided to follow her from a distance. He wanted to see where she went and what she did next. As he trailed behind her, he noticed that she walked slowly and carefully, as if she were in pain. He also observed that she lived alone in a small house and spent most of her time indoors. Curious about her story, Lucas decided to knock on her door. He introduced himself and explained that he had seen her at the animal shelter. He told her that he couldn't help but notice that she seemed a bit down and wanted to check in on her. Helen was surprised by Lucas's kindness and invited him in. Over tea and cookies, they began to chat. As the conversation flowed, Helen opened up to Lucas about her life. She told him that she had recently lost her husband, John, who had been her rock and support system. She admitted that she was struggling to cope with the loss and felt isolated and helpless. Lucas listened intently, offering words of comfort and understanding. He could relate to her feelings of grief and loneliness, as he had experienced similar emotions, when he first moved to Texas, touched by Helen's story. Lucas offered to help her with everyday tasks, such as grocery shopping and housework. At first, she was hesitant, but eventually agreed. As the days passed, Lucas became a regular visitor to Helen's house. He helped her with chores, ran errands, and provided emotional support. He discovered that Helen was a talented pianist and often played classical music for him. They bonded over their shared love of music and art. Through Lucas's kindness and companionship, Helen began to heal. She no longer felt as lonely or helpless. She started taking small steps towards moving on with her life. One day, Helen's granddaughter Emily visited her. She was overjoyed to see her grandmother smiling and engaged in conversation. She thanked Lucas for his kindness and asked him to stay for dinner. During the meal, Emily told Lucas that her grandmother had been feeling down lately and hadn't been eating much. She was worried about her health and well-being. Lucas reassured her that he was there to help and that he was glad to see her grandmother doing better. After dinner, Emily asked Lucas if he would be willing to become Helen's caretaker. She explained that she lived in another city and couldn't visit often. She was impressed by Lucas's dedication and thought he would be perfect for the job. Lucas was honored by Emily's offer, but he was also nervous. He had grown fond of Helen and didn't want to jeopardize their friendship. However, he knew that he wanted to continue helping her, so he accepted the position. From that day forward, Lucas became Helen's full-time caretaker. He moved into her house and took care of her every need. He continued to provide her with emotional support and companionship. And together they created a loving and supportive relationship. Through his acts of kindness and compassion, Lucas had not only saved Helen from loneliness and despair, but had also found purpose and meaning in his own life. The unexpected job at the animal shelter had been a blessing in disguise. It had led him to an opportunity to make a real difference in someone's life. No longer did he feel lost or hopeless. He had a job he liked, a roof over his head, and a newfound sense of fulfillment. Lucas realized that sometimes all it takes is a simple act of kindness to change someone's life, including your own. We often think that only big gestures or significant contributions can make a difference, but the truth is that small acts of kindness can have just as much of an impact. By helping others, we not only make their lives better, but also find joy and satisfaction in ourselves. So what can we learn from Lucas's story? Firstly, we must always remain hopeful. No matter how challenging the circumstances, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Don't give up in the face of adversity. Keep moving forward and believe in a brighter future. Secondly, don't underestimate the power of helping others. Even small acts of kindness can have a profound impact on someone's life. By lending a helping hand, we not only make someone else's day, but also find happiness within ourselves. Finally, embrace new opportunities with an open mind. You never know what amazing experiences or connections await you. Be brave enough to step outside your comfort zone and pursue new horizons. Who knows what incredible discoveries you might make along the way? Thank you for watching. We wish you all the best and hope you learned something valuable from this video. If you liked the video, please leave a comment below and share it with your friends and family. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you in the next video.